So this was during my undergraduate. I wanted to start day trading as a full-time job. Now remember, I had been trading previously. A lot of it had been long-term and swing trading, but I really wanted to get in on day trading. There was one specific trade that I made. I remember it was Groupon. I was sitting on my couch. I was just dabbling in the world of day trading, and I made $700 in 4 minutes. And I looked at myself and I just go, wow, well, that was pretty easy. And of course, it wasn't easy. It was a good trade. I had been practicing for so long. I had been paper trading for 3 to 4 months at that point with day trades. And that was my first trade that I executed. And I was like, okay, I made $700 in 4 minutes. That's probably not the norm, but I know there's something there where I can do this full time. So that set me out on the personal journey of doing it full time. So what did that entail? Well, I knew for me it was going to entail a set schedule. A set schedule is very important in my life. And I have found that people that are involved in investing that are good at it and that have a good process, they typically have a really good schedule. They're very regimented. So I knew that I needed to create a schedule for myself. That was waking up at the same time every day, forcing myself to sit in the computer, forcing myself to study. Even on days that I didn't want to, it's very hard to sit inside of your apartment or your house and force yourself to do things. You want to get up, you want to go clean something, you want to go do the chores that you never want to do because you don't want to sit in that computer. But I had to force myself to do so. So I would usually wake up around 5:30, 6 o'clock in the morning. I'm just an early bird person. There's no reason for anybody to wake up that early if you don't like to, but that's what I do. Wake up, get going, start reading the news of the day. And I really like to see what was driving the market. Honestly, what was happening in the overseas markets? Because a lot of what happens in China and Japan and whatnot, it actually drives a little bit of our markets in the morning, right off the bat at 9:30. So I wanted to see, are there some stocks that I'm going to be able to pay attention to and possibly catch? Are there companies that had some hurdles to get through overnight? Was there going to be a big fall? 25% drops in some companies often were happening. That is the type of thing that I looked for leading up to the market opening at 9:30 in the morning. One other important thing that I did, and I encourage everybody to do this, is go through and download the S&P 500 and look for the different patterns that I talk about in different videos. Now you might be looking at me saying, Mostafa, how am I supposed to look through 500 companies a day? It's very simple. It takes 45 minutes, takes 50 minutes, but trust me, it's going to make you a better trader in the long run. Download those 500 companies, start at number 1A, go to AA, AB, whatever the ticker symbols are, and just go all the way to the Zs. Look for ugly face patterns one day. The next day you go through, you look for head and shoulders patterns. The next day you go through, you look for engulfing candlestick patterns. That is the best way to go about this. It's the repetition that you do over and over and over that's going to make you a better trader. It's really going to make you better in anything that you do in your life. It's really going to make you a better trader if you go through the reps. So now the market's open, 9:30, what happens? Now I'm looking at those companies that had the big fluctuations overnight, and I'm also looking at my two stocks that I traded every single day, which are LABU and LABD. Not something that I recommend to the new trader. And you might be saying, why do you not recommend that to the new trader? Because they're 3-time levered ETFs. So if the S&P 500 moves one time, LABU, LABD, SOXL, SQQQ, these are 3-time levered ETFs. So they're going to move 3 times as fast what the S&P 500 does. Yes, you can make more money, but you can lose more money. It's definitely more risky. So I would not advise that to the new trader, but you can absolutely get there once you get the reps in. At that point, I would just start looking for trends. Where are my trends going? Am I getting positive trends? Am I getting negative trends? Am I starting to get good volume coming into companies? And this is what I would do from about 9:30 until about 2 o'clock. And I would just keep going through those 500 stocks. If there was some downtime, I would study a little bit more. I would just try to get more familiar with those patterns. And if there was time to capitalize on a trade, that's absolutely what I would do. Now, there were days where I would try to go in and make 1% per day. And I would make it within the first 5 minutes. There are some days where I would just say, okay, I'm done. I made my 1% per day and I'm going to move on. You might be saying, 1%, that doesn't sound like a lot. And you did it in 5 minutes. Why would you just stop? Emotions are a big part of this. Now you're playing with house money, really. You made 1% on the day. Let's say you were trading $100,000, you made $1,000. Well, you have $1,000, and if you lose it, you go back to zero for the day. You really broke even. And it's that psychology that happens that you can get really screwed up and you just start losing and you get greedy because you're saying, I'm playing with house money. Say you go in and you make 10% one day. Well, now you have $10,000 if you were trading 100,000. You're saying, oh, I can live like a king right here. You might go in and lose $13,000 or $14,000. It is not a fun time. Trust me, I've been there. So it really depended on the mood of the day of what I was going to do as far as gains. Most days I would sit there on the computer from about 8 to 2 p.m. And then that first hour and a half was really practicing. Then I would go to the gym. I would go to the gym at 2 o'clock every day, and the rest of my day would just kind of fall into place. But that was the structure that I needed to make sure that I could do this full time. Day trading is an extremely time-consuming thing. If you want to be good at it, you have to consume your life into it. And I understand. It's a hard thing for people to do if they have a career. And that's why there's different ways of trading out there. But if you want to be a day trader, this is the path forward for you. So I get the question a lot of, what was your goal at the time? Can you go back to that mindset of what it was like in the 2010, 2012, 2015 timeframe when you were kind of new at this, starting out, and what was going on? And that is a great question, because now I look back and I'm not in the same position anymore. And building now, it's more sustaining and slowly growing rather than rapidly growing it. So my goal at the time, literally what I did the first day that I started my career as a day trader, was I sat down and I almost created a budget. And I said, okay, what exactly do I need to make in order to continue living the lifestyle that I want to live? That is the bare minimum that I have to be able to do. So I structured it out. I figured out what all my bills were, what vacations I wanted to take, what have you, what things I like to buy, the golf that I needed to pay for, and say what hobbies you need to pay for, and just said, okay, this is the dollar amount that I need to make. If I cannot do this, I need to go and find a real job. It's very simple. If you can't maintain the lifestyle, or you want to lessen your lifestyle a little bit, then you have to execute on it. Then I made a second budget and I said, where do I want to be? What is the goal here? Because obviously you want to do better than where you're at. So I broke down that goal and I said, okay, this is my overall goal. My goal was to make in excess of whatever amount that you need to live the current lifestyle, and then get a little bit more. And that's kind of that was the goal and the mental trigger that I needed to propel me to that next level, to make me focus and pay attention and always sit in that computer chair and not want to get up and go clean the toilet. So another question that I get often is, what would you go back and change? And that is a great, great question. And I do think that the number one thing that I would go back and change, and I often say this on live streams, I would just pay attention to LABU and LABD. I do not think that I would go and deviate and kind of chase news for the day. Yes, it made me money, but it often lost me money. There were so many times where I would chase news, a stock price would fall 25%, and then it would rebound 15% within a matter of 30 minutes. That is probably something I would change. And the reason I would, and it doesn't need to be LABU, LABD. It could be any stock that you want. Just make sure it has enough volatility to make you any money, but you understand the behavior of the stock. I knew that every single morning, LABD or LABU would have a massive spike at 9:30 a.m. through about 9:55 in the morning. Then it would settle down throughout the day and it would end the day with some type of big bump, usually after lunch. That is the behavior that it consistently had. And I knew that. So I was able to take advantage of that and just look for that pattern over and over. So if I could change one thing, I probably would have gone back and just focused on those two and really became more of an expert in trading just those two rather than going into news. Now, another thing, something that I'm proud of and that I actually did. I think that I did a fantastic job of structuring my life around trading. I would literally not do anything. I wouldn't talk on the phone. I wouldn't do anything during that morning routine. From about 5:30, 6 o'clock through 2 p.m., there was no way to contact me, and everybody knew that. And I think that is where my success came from. It was a phenomenal schedule for me because people knew, don't bother me, and I knew no one was going to bother me. So it was almost as if I didn't have any FOMO of what was happening on my phone or what was happening in my email. So that is what really drove me. And I'm very, very proud that I was able to do that, because I think if I wasn't able to sit down and focus like that and really turn this into a career, as if I was sitting in an office with a boss looking over my shoulder, I do not think I would have done as well as I have done. So with everything that I just said, a lot of that was on me. That was all on my shoulders. But I had a mentor in all of this. It was somebody that I could lean on a daily basis. If I screwed up a trade, I was able to go to him and say, what did I screw up here? Can you coach me through this? If I had a great trade, I would honestly go to him and show him and say, this is exactly what I saw in the trade. There Wins are great, but if you're winning for the wrong reasons, it's not great because you're going to get burned. Losses are actually great because you have the opportunity to learn from them. If you don't learn from them, losses are terrible and they're never going to get better. So having that mentor is extremely important. And just like you guys right now, I found my mentor on the internet, and we have since become extremely good friends. We see each other very often, but let me be that mentor for you. I want to show you guys something real quick. If you come over to my screen, this is the University of South Florida. I went to school here. This is the catalog of their classes that you can take. There was a class that I was forced to take, and I talk about this a lot. It was called Wetland Environments. And basically what it was is going through wetland conservation, functions of the wetlands throughout the state of Florida. This class was $575 per credit. That is equal to $1,725. That is for Florida wetlands credit. That was the biggest waste of time. It was an online class where I never saw the teacher. I never even got to go on an airboat through Lake Okeechobee, which I thought was going to be something I was going to do. No, it was all online. I copy and pasted every single question that was on every quiz. It was all online and just answer the question and just get through the class. Almost $2,000. My point in telling you this, my Patreon right now is $25. There are less than 100 spots available, but not only just that, I'm not just trying to sell you the Patreon. I'm not just trying to get you to join my Patreon. I'm trying to get you to join and learn a skill that you're going to use for the rest of your life. Trading is a journey. It's going to be something that you can use forever. And I'm comparing it to this environmental wetlands class because it's something that I spent almost $2,000 on, and I learned absolutely nothing, and it's just money gone. There was no skill, completely out the window. With this is something you're going to be able to use forever. This is something that I honestly would want, if you're an adult and you have children, teach your children to do this. They don't teach this in schools. They don't teach kids anything about money in schools, but specifically trading. And it's truly not that simple. It's truly not that difficult. We have plenty of students who have kids that are 10 years old that they're teaching. I've seen them on the live streams. They've been commenting to me. So look at it this way. It's $25 a month. Forever, less than 100 spots available, and it's far more advantageous to you and your future and your family's future than some college course that you're never going to learn a skill from. So if you're ready to take that next step, click on this video right here. It's a comprehensive guide where I take you through everything you need to know in trading. We start with what the trend is, what volume is, what engulfing candlesticks are. We talk about those ugly face patterns and head and shoulders patterns that I mentioned earlier in the video. It is a fully comprehensive guide of everything that you need to know to get started. Enjoy it.